Good evening, everyone. Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands we gather on today, and I pay my respects to elders past and present. I also honour the strength, wisdom and resilience of First Nations mothers, babies, families and communities whose stories and sovereignty guide everything we do. Nayama Melanie Briggs, a very proud Darawal and Gumbenge Balang midwife and executive birthing on country manager at Waminda South Coast Women's Health and Wellbeing Aboriginal Corporation on the New South Wales South Coast of Australia. I'm here not just as a health professional, but as a witness to the power of cultural reclamation, community-led care, and the transformative impact of birthing on country. Birthing on country is not a model, it is a movement. It is a return to our ways of knowing, being and birthing. It is about restoring what colonisation tried to erase, our connections, our connection to land, language, ceremony and kinship during one of the most sacred transitions in life, bringing new life into this world. For too long, First Nations women have been forced to birth in systems that are not designed for us, systems that are clinically disconnected and often unsafe. The statistics speak for themselves: higher rates of preterm birth, maternal mortality and systemic racism. But behind every number is a mother, a baby, a family, and a story that deserves dignity, safety and cultural respect. Birthing on country changes that. It centres First Nations governance, community leadership and holistic care. It integrates midwifery continuity with wraparound services for emotional well-being, housing, nutrition and healing. It brings elders into the birthing space. It allows women to birth on their country, with their culture and with their power intact. At Waminda, we've seen the impact firsthand that our model has reduced preterm birth rates, increased our breastfeeding and improved maternal well-being. But more than that, it has restored pride, identity and intergenerational healing. It has shown that when Aboriginal women lead, outcomes improve for everyone. We've secured infrastructure, influenced policy and trained the next generation of First Nations midwives. But we are not done. We need a national commitment. We need investment into First Nations maternity workforce development. We need culturally safe education, recruitment and retention strategies. And we need to embed birthing on country as a right, not a privilege. To those in positions of power, listen to our voices, fund our models, respect our knowledge systems and walk with us, not ahead of us. To any fellow midwives in the room today, health workers and community leaders, we thank you. Your work is very sacred. Your advocacy is powerful and your presence is changing lives. Birthing on country is not just about birth. It is about sovereignty, safety and spirit. It's about rewriting the history and the story for our babies, for our mothers and our future. Let's continue to do this journey together. Thank you. This is a picture of me and my beautiful children. They are descendants of the Darawal and Gumbenge peoples. My Neil, my Miru, my Charlie, my Nangawu. They are what ground me and bring me joy, hope and happiness. They are the direct descendants of the original people of this country and will carry our songs and bloodlines to the next generation through to their children and my grandchildren. And it is my responsibility to make sure that this happens in peace and harmony. I've been a midwife for 15 years and I completed a Bachelor of Midwifery at the University of Technology in Sydney, a Masters of Primary Maternity Care at Griffith University, and then my Advanced Diploma in Leadership and Management through the University of New England. I'm an Executive Manager and endorsed midwife at Waminda South Coast Women's Health and Wellbeing Aboriginal Corporation in Nowra. For the past 9 years, I've been involved in researching, evaluating, mapping, redesigning and implementing a new maternity model of care that is designed to put culture at its core. So today, I'm going to share some insight into how we've got here and where we are today. The topics that will be covered in this session are about Waminda, South Coast Women's Health and Wellbeing, Birthing on Country, the Model of Care, Balang Healing Framework, Wayana Yanaga, Research, Consultations, internationally and local, Community Consultations, Challenges, and our Birth Centre. Waminda are 41 years young and have an amazing Board of Management, Chief Executive Leadership Team, and Senior Executive Aboriginal Women. It is very honouring and humbling work that we do in community. Our organisation has 70% of staff being First Nations women from community, and we also work alongside what we call allies. They are the non-Koori staff who work on their privilege and fragility every day to ensure they are working safely and alongside our Koori staff. We have senior Balangs, 170 staff, over 50 programs, and the history of Waminda is community. It was built on the premise of poor service delivery to our women and children, birthing at the back of tin shacks in a Bomaderry hospital, not allowed to birth in our local hospital. This is just in my parents' generation. We are about pushback and decolonising and ensuring all practices are informed by our ways of knowing, being and doing. Waminda's model of care is founded on Aboriginal ways of knowing, being and doing. We provide a holistic wraparound service delivery where we walk beside our women and their families on their journeys. At Waminda, there is no wrong door. We provide a community hub, one-stop shop if you like, that is welcoming and culturally safe. Our focus is on supporting and championing individual wellbeing, but not just the physical wellbeing of the individual, but the social, emotional and cultural, spiritual wellbeing of the community. We pride our model as decolonising. Our model of care guides and directs us in our practice and service delivery as a holistic community-driven organisation, led by strong core of women leaders from community, ensuring that we are always privileging our women's voices. Culture as the foundation, meaning that everything we do is culture. Our decisions, our thoughts, our actions are based on culture and ensuring this is honoured in our ways of knowing and our ways of working. Culture is our law, LORE. It is our Indigenous policy. It keeps us focused on what we value in our lives to ensure we practice this in our workplace and with our families that we service. Self-determination and decolonisation means we are taking back our power to live and thrive in this world. We are doing this by pushing back on the colonial systems, processes, policies that have been designed by non-Koori people for our people. This is normally in a deficit lens, looking at us as the risk, when in fact we are just us. The system and its policies pose a risk to us. By identifying these risks and recreating policy, processes and procedures within our organisation, a cultural lens, we are decolonising. To decolonise is to recognise that we as Indigenous peoples can create our ways of knowing, being and doing, and live by this and be accountable to this. Knowledge holders and leadership, we honour the fight and resistance of our ancestors and elders by continuing in their footsteps. We pay respects to our elders and take direction from their teachings and wisdom. Waminda is Aboriginal women-led organisation committed and transparent to our community. Our eldership, community-driven and governed honouring our ancestors and walking the path. Our programs include Balanganya, Balang Healing, Strong Yawa, meaning strong speak, drug and alcohol brokerage, health and wellbeing, Midawul, youth suicide prevention, Tucker, food, Yili Ninjawan, which is our staying home and leaving violence program, our family support and playgroup, Justice Health, Domestic and Family Violence, Family Health, Intake, Healing Counsellors, and NDIS. We have our Naboo Preservation Restoration team that support our families to keep our babies and our families in their care or restore them back into their care after removal. Yanaga Durga Connections, our garden, our beautiful native garden that feeds into our social enterprise cafe called Black Seed. SAS Yili Nagura, palliative care, cancer care programs. Jibang, Gadu Balang Biani, where our primary healthcare team sit, which includes our nurses and GPs, admin, transport, reception, allied health services, diabetes clinics, Indigenous bushflowers clinics, naturopath, ITC, and chronic disease. This is just to name a few. We have over 50 programs at Waminda. This is the Waminda Balang Healing Framework, Balang meaning woman in our language, our Durga language. It puts identity and culture at the centre of everything we do as an organisation. Waminda is a matriarchal leadership where our Koori women from community take on the responsibility to work towards the vision of Aboriginal women and their families, leading self-determined futures. Wayana Yanaga, which is on the next page, walking on our grandmother's path, is the very foundation of the organisation where our Koori women leaders practice and live by their law. This is practiced through embedding protocols and customs in the work that Waminda delivers in community. Living by our grandmother's law, we practice our protocol of being protectors and nurturers. This means that the programs and services we deliver to our community are to wrap around and give the care, nurture and guidance that our grandmothers have given to us since the first sunrise. Our grandmothers birth our women and our men within their womb, and that's the beginning of our mother's heartbeat. Our Auntie Lynn Wellington shared that beautiful story with us. The healing framework was part of an internal process at Waminda where our Koori staff were invited to share what is healing for them, what grounds them, what do they do that heals and keeps us connected to our culture, our family, our kin and country. And in the centre you will see identity and culture, meaning that for us is our healing and it makes us feel strong. We need to know our identity and who our mob are because this connects us to many clans, tribes and language groups. It supports our spiritual and emotional health and well-being, knowing who we are connected to, which families that our children are connected to in society. Each family has a different cultural responsibility. For example, specific families from La Perouse all the way down to Eden are known for fishing, saltwater people. For hundreds of years, the Koori men and women will go out on canoes or around the rock ledges off the beach for days to catch nully, food, to share with the community. This is nurturing. It is a sense of pride, leadership and responsibility, being and belonging. Ceremony is part of our healing. We use traditional bush medicines to cleanse and make us feel good again. There are different types of medicines for different purposes, and in birthing there are a few that we use in women's business, such as cherry bush. It is a certain bush that we use to smoke and cleanse the women and our babies. It grows a little red cherry on it, and when ripe you can eat it, and it helps you do a poo. Wayana Yanaga is Waminda's cultural framework and centres birth and identity. It is centred because it is the foundation of all aspects that support our cultural belonging. The cultural framework identifies a set of functions that interrelate and form cultural frameworks. Language is important to us as it helps us identify families and kinship systems. Nature and country, the mother, we need nature and country to keep us grounded, connected and safe. When out on country, she speaks to us, she holds us and reminds us that country is caring and that we need to care for her in order for us to survive and to thrive. Belonging and connection. Since the moment we are conceived, our identity is formed. We are connected to our ancestral bloodlines on both the maternal and paternal sides. This gives us our sense of belonging and connection. We thrive on knowing who we are, where we come from, and the responsibilities our family hold in community because that gives us a purpose. Ceremony. Birthing is ceremony. Death is ceremony. The first breath, each phase of our lives are the moment we need to celebrate and conduct ceremony for. From baby to toddler, from completely reliant on our parents to care for us, to exploration and learning to eat solids, roll over, crawl, walk, sing, dance, then going to a young child, using sticks to draw pictures in the sand, rocks to throw that teach us how to aim and create a ripple effect in the water, into our teenage years, for young women our first menstrual flow, for our boys puberty, then into adulthood, being independent and responsible for your life, your actions and your words and your being. All of these moments in your life are ceremony, but yet society does not allow us to celebrate or stop and recognise that these moments in our lives are truly significant and form who we are as people. Spirituality, it is a sense of knowing a greater purpose. What is Birthing on Country? It is a First Nations-led maternity model of care that supports First Nations women to give birth in a way that is culturally, spiritually and clinically safe, ideally on or near their ancestral lands, or in a setting that reflects their cultural values and beliefs. All Birthing on Country models are uniquely designed and are community-driven in terms of gaps, from women's experiences and services that provide services. The key elements of Birthing on Country are cultural safety. Care is grounded in Indigenous worldviews with respect for traditional practices, language and kinship systems. It involves elders, community members and Aboriginal health workers in the birthing journey. Connection to country. Country refers to more than geography. It includes spiritual, cultural and familial ties. Birthing on Country strengthens identity and belonging by connecting their baby to their ancestral lands from birth. It's Indigenous community-controlled care. Services are often delivered through Aboriginal community-controlled health organisations, ensuring that care is led by First Nations Indigenous peoples. Holistic support includes wraparound services, mental health, housing, nutrition, parenting, and healing, addressing the social determinants of health. Improved outcomes. Birthing on Country. The evidence for Birthing on Country shows that models like this lead to better maternal and infant health outcomes, including reduced preterm births and increased engagement with antenatal care. So from that, Waminda partnered with leading national researchers from Charles Darwin University, Molly Wadaguga Research Centre. Our involvement included a National Health and Medical Research Grant, also called Building on Our Strengths Study. Boost. The Boost study was to determine the feasibility of establishing Birthing on Country services, inclusive of birth centres in an urban and rural setting, Nowra being the rural and Brisbane being the urban. Acceptability of the new Birthing on Country services for women and families and communities and health service providers. Clinical and cultural safety of the new service, its cost effectiveness, key processes required to establish Birthing on Country birth centres and to create sustainability. The primary expected outcomes were that newly developed model of care will improve maternal and neonatal outcomes for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander mothers and babies when compared to receiving standard care. In December 2023, this study finished and is now being finalised for outcomes and recommendations for moving into the future for culturally safe maternity care programs across urban and rural settings. The next phase is Rise Safely, which commenced on the 1st of May with our new model of care. This prospective cohort study will look at key clinical indicators including primary health outcomes relating to spontaneous vaginal birth rate, elective caesarean sections, preterm births, low birth weight, neonatal nursery admissions, and exclusive breastfeeding at discharge. Qualitative components of this study will explore women's and partners' experiences of being cared for by our Birthing on Country midwifery practice team, along with the midwives' experience of working in the model. So with understanding the foundation of our research, Waminda's Kawa, the fig tree, the birthing on country cluster is the overarching framework that sits within the broader Waminda model of care. It wraps around our families and centres our Aboriginal culture, ensuring we practice the law and stay strong in our values to protect the cultural integrity and safety of our people. We currently provide child and family health nursing from birth to 5 years of age. Our clinics are led by Aboriginal health practitioners, guiding and leading our non-First Nation staff to work in a culturally safe way. 24/7 on-call midwifery, providing intrapartum services, continuity of care within our local community and birthing in our hospital. Antenatal and postnatal services to women who choose to home birth or free birth, and also women who present after 32 weeks in their pregnancy. Women's reproductive and sexual health services, providing early pregnancy care assessments, linking families with appropriate AHPs, Aboriginal practitioners and midwives for continuity of cultural and maternity care. Medical and surgical terminations, early pregnancy care, pregnancy options, counselling, contraception, LARC, IUDs, implantons, Depo-Provera and the pill. We also have a dedicated research team aligned with our program who provide live feedback on quantitative data to ensure we are monitoring outcomes and conducting continuous quality improvement. As I mentioned earlier, all birthing on country models are unique and are individually designed to meet that specific community need. Our program is designed by our local community through identifying gaps from what women's experiences were and services that were being provided. So the key points within our model are Aboriginal practitioner-led, it's a multi-layered approach, it's 24/7 holistic care, it is governed by Indigenous people, and it's backed by evidence and research. Gujaga Ganyilamia is not just a place of birth, it resembles resilience, resistance, Black excellence and governance. It is pride, honouring our ancestors and the sacredness of the longest living culture on this planet. Not only will we birth the next generation, but we will also be honouring the path that our ancestors have paved for us to care for each other and to care for country. So in the next few slides, I will share the journey of our consultations around our birth centre design. In 2016, we visited the Toronto Birth Centre and we were greeted by Roberta and Cheryl Lee, who kindly shared their knowledge around the design, what was important to the women, and making the space feel very safe and centering and grounding so women could birth in peace and calm and harmony with their known care provider, midwife. It was a very humbling experience, and from that we took many, many learnings and many challenges, and we were very grateful for this experience. And this is pictures of our beautiful team that went to Canada, and just a beautiful photo of the excellence that Aboriginal midwifery means to all of us. So I want to thank Cheryl Lee and Roberta for sharing their time with us during our visit. We were also very fortunate to visit the Six Nations Reserve Birth Centre, where we were greeted by beautiful elders and shared stories of how birthing is meant to be. And it was such a beautiful space. It was warm, it felt like a home, and women were able to move about as freely as they wanted, and there was no barriers or challenges to them in terms of where they could birth in that space. And we were so grateful for this experience because we took a lot of learnings. And for this particular building, the cultural aspects with the Tikanagans and, the aunties welcoming people into the space, the communal kitchens and the rooms that weren't clinical, they felt like a bedroom, and it was there was some really good taking some learnings from that space. So yeah, that was I just, yeah, it was such a beautiful space. We also visited the Native Child and Family Services of Toronto and Tikanagan, and the reason behind this visit was because we have a family preservation and restoration program within Waminda where we push back on colonised systems that force the removal of our children. And not only did we learn about the service delivery of the Native Child and Family Services, but we also were taken away by their beautiful architecture and the sense of culture within this space, the smell of sage as you walk into the room, the beautiful wall of the spiritual corridor from the morgue to the other side of the building, and you could feel that when you walked into the space. And that is what we've taken away from this building, is the cultural and spiritual safety of a space and making it your own, even though the service is about pushback and keeping kids safe and, because of the impacts of colonisation. But the sense of feeling and the sense of connectedness to culture within that space was very much felt. So we loved the different, the allowance of light and green and the smell and the hearing of country, the water flow. All of these things are beautiful elements that we immediately felt walking into the space and that we took on as part of creating our own beautiful birth centre. We also visited the Ottawa Birth Centre, and our learnings from this space were very clinical. It was, and clinical as in emergencies and storage space. We were told many times to ensure that we have lots of storage, which was really funny. And yeah, it was beautiful to see the birth centre aides there and, their role and the capacity building of staff and, a lot of the clinical work and the storage and the spatial information we got from Ottawa was very, very great. So thank you. And then from our international consultations and our visits with our beautiful Indigenous people across the continent, we visited our local hospitals. So we visited Shoalhaven District Memorial Hospital, St George Hospital and Royal North Shore. Unfortunately, Australia is behind in terms of birth centres. We have hospital-based birth centres, but we don't have freestanding, self-governing birth centres. So this is something that we are priding ourselves on leading this space for this country. So from all of these visits, we took photos within the space, and we also, took the good and sort of went and just did an analysis of the space and what we wanted to make sure that we were including so that we would have normal physiological birth. There was less intervention. The space felt warm, inviting, comforting. So we took, with those photos, we shared them with our Waminda staff at our staff gathering, where our elders and aunties and men were invited to review these photos and give some feedback about the pictures and try to get a sense of the space, the colour, the warmth. And obviously there were challenges to this way of consultation because these were just pictures and it was difficult to get a real life sense of the feeling throughout a picture. But our people shared their thoughts and many said the colours and the people who greet you matter. The birth room needs to be big so women and their families can feel a sense of freedom when needing to move about and have access to fresh air and outdoor spaces. So we are currently in the process of writing a paper about how we concluded our design from our beautiful visits from across the sea in Canada and locally here in New South Wales. So in closing, I want to again thank you for inviting me to speak today, and I would love for you to, if you have time, view the video of our birth centre that is currently being built, and I hope that you will reach out to us, and if you want to come for a visit, we will be open in December 2026. So thank you again. Walawani Ninjawan.